1A is the pelvic lift. And so you'll see in the PDF attached below in the description, it asks you to have an exercise ball, right? So of course, here's my exercise ball. So that is something that you can use for this exercise. But of course, it's not absolutely necessary that you use the ball. And so I'm gonna go through and demonstrate to you different ways to do this exercise if you don't have one of these big guys at home. The other exercise equipment or any equipment that you'd want to have close at hand is a mat or something that you could lie on. Even simply a towel would be nice. If you're finding getting down on the floor quite challenging, then of course this is something that you could do on your bed or on your couch, depending how wide the couch is. So finding the best place for you to lie is really important. Alternatively, I'm going to show you a position at the wall as well. So having the wall where there's no pictures or anything, just a flat wall that you can use is also what you're going to need for this first exercise, the pelvic lift. Exercise 1A is the pelvic tilt. And I just described to you what the equipment requirements are for this exercise. If you're not getting down onto the floor, make sure that you find a couch or a bed to do this exercise on. The first version is simply lying down. Now for me, I have my mat here just so that I have something to lie on. I'm going to come down to a laying position, planting my feet underneath my, close to my knees, and then my hips are pressing down into the ground. I'll place my hands down onto the floor, and I'm going to strong and powerfully through my leg, press down through my feet as I lift my hips up, up, up towards the ceiling. Actively pressing through those hands and lifting those hips up. Slowly come back down to let the pelvis rest back on the floor. And so you do multiple repetitions of this exercise through your ability and your pain threshold. Now the option to challenge yourself in this position is also there. You can lift the hips up, tracking the knees forward, and from here see if you can lift one foot off the ground, just a tiny bit. See how my hips dropped. I want to make sure my hips stay up and then slowly lower. You would then come to the other side, really trying to keep those hips up off the floor. Now, of course, staying in this original position is just fine, and you'll do your multiple repetitions in that position. Now, if you're lucky and have an exercise ball at home, I'll show you the version with it. That ball is going to come down by the legs, and the most lower part of the leg is going to land on that ball. So making sure that most of the lower leg is on the ball. Again, planting those hands down onto the ground, press into those hands, and then lift those hips up. The legs will come straight as you lift those hips up. Slowly lower back down, nice and controlled. If you have any issues in your neck and you don't feel that you have a space between your neck and the floor, go ahead and support your head with a rolled up blanket or towel, something that will make sure the arch in your neck remains there. Lifting up through those hips, pressing the legs straight, coming into this position in the pelvic lift, and then slowly coming down. Now to challenge yourself in this position, you would walk the legs down the ball ever so slightly so that less of your leg is reaching the ball. You're going to press into those legs as you lift those hips up, using your hands to lift you up as well, and then slowly come back down. Simply, this is exercise 1A, the pelvic lifts, using some equipment or no equipment. I showed you on the floor, but you can definitely do this at home on your bed or couch. An alternative for exercise 1A is actually coming to a wall, particularly for those of us who don't want to get down onto the floor, but still practice that action of pressing the hips up. And it's not going to so much be up, but more about being forward. So that whole idea of a pelvic lift. So we'll come to the wall, facing the wall. Your toes are likely going to touch the wall, and then trying to see if you can bring the front of your hips or pelvis in front of you into the wall, applying a gentle pressure. The nose may skim the wall ever so slightly. Keeping your shoulders down and hands at your side, press your hips forward as much as you can into the wall, feeling the sensation of the wall in front of you. You may actually feel like you're going to lift up and slightly lean back as you press those hips forward. So it's a bit of a counterbalance. As the hips go forward, the shoulders tuck back slightly, and then coming back up to the starting position. Now I'll show you right now what I would like you not to do. We don't need to be doing this sort of action. This has all gone into my spine and nothing's happening down at my pelvis. So it's a very, very small motion as I press my hips forward. Feel the front of my hip bones pressing into the wall, a little bit of my belly pressing into the wall, and then I slowly allow those shoulders to lift back ever so slightly. Neck remains nice and long and tall. We are definitely not lifting the head up. So think about an extension from the back of the spine, finding long length through that spine, and then slowly come back forward. So the wall is there as an external stimulus to feel on the front of the pelvis and in through the hips. And so instead of going down on the floor and trying to push against gravity, we're not necessarily working with gravity, but we're still trying to get that pelvic lift to happen at the wall. This is a really good option, just finding that wall that has nothing on it so that it doesn't interfere with your exercise.